Thank you for joining this week's Q&A call. Today we're going to talk over some of the questions that we've got about the topic of this week. So that's non-negotiables that we're going to go over. And then we'll talk about just the general questions and questions that we've been asked as well this week. So I'll dive straight in just now with the topical questions, and then I'll get to the questions that you've asked yourself as well. So the first one is, how do I know what non-negotiables to pick? So obviously in the video on Monday, I was talking about all the different things like sleep, protein, water, steps. There's so many different types of non-negotiables to pick from. And all of these things are supposed to be small habits that are easy to stick to, so that even on a day that we kind of are thrown into the deep end with things, maybe life just doesn't go as planned, or we just feel really tired, or things are thrown at us and we think, oh God, how can I actually stay on track? So should be 3 non-negotiables that even on those days that we can actually stick to, so that we can then carry on seeing progress as we move forward as well. So there want to be things that don't add too much effort or change and require the least amount of effort but the biggest amount of reward. So if it's going to bed a little bit earlier or having a proper sleep routine, if that will then help more with your nutrition, maybe you're struggling with nutrition, or you're struggling with feeling energized enough to train, or maybe we're not recovering properly, that could be one to go into. Or say that you're really struggling with feeling full, then maybe actually looking at protein, or looking at having structured meals, like 3 structured meals a day, or adding more fruit and veg. So it is a hard place to know where to start. But if we actually look at where we're struggling with now already, what are the biggest barriers that we're already come across? This might be something that you want to listen back to as well and write down at the same time. But if you think about what are your biggest barriers that keep tripping you up each week, or over this last week that we've had, what kept getting in the way? Then we can look into that a little bit more and think, right, well, what 3 habits are going to help stop getting that in the way? So say biggest downfall is that I keep having takeaway pizzas because I've got no food in and I'm feeling tired and I'm hungry. So then it could be like, what 3 negotiables would help with that? So one could be doing a food shop every week. So non-negotiable, doing a food shop every week. Another one could be having protein in each meal, so that we actually are feeling fuller, so that when we get to the end of the day, we're not thinking, oh God, I just need a big meal and we want to have a pizza and we're feeling lethargic. And another one could be to only have 1 takeaway a week, so that we actually have a bit of structure of, yes, I can have that, but I'm not going to overwhelm myself and say I can't have any at all. So it's just breaking down the barriers that we've already got and then building habits around them in the easiest way possible, so that they can slowly fizzle out and we actually start living the lifestyle that we want to live, rather than everything else taking over as well. So when we actually then think about those habits that we're setting, so say the food shop, or say we're having protein in each meal, or we're getting an earlier night sleep, whatever non-negotiable you set yourself. So I'll send a list of these as well in the chat. Whatever you pick, you then want to try and make it indestructible as well. So what things could then get in the way of that goal that you set? So say, I'm going to stick with the protein one because it's easy off the top of my head to give examples for. So say you want to set a goal, protein in each meal. What could get in the way of that? Well, one, I might not have done my food shop. I might not be able to cook at lunchtime. I might be on the go at work. And I might not be asked to cook. So then we think, right, so how can I get over those barriers? So one could be to always have tins of tuna in the house, because tuna, you don't have to cook it. It's quick. Open the tin, have it. You can have it its own. You can have it in a wrap. You can have it with chocolate potato. You can have it so many different ways, and it's easy and it's quick. And also you can take it with you. So that could help with that. Another thing could be to find foods and meals that you can have on the go. So if you do nip into Tesco's or Boots or wherever for a meal deal, think, right, what meal deal is going to give me what I actually want? So have a little look. Obviously, these things are going to take time at first because we're getting used to those things and we're trying to find what does work. But have a little look on the back of packaging, see what is best in terms of calories to protein kind of ratio. Like usually it's your chicken, bacon and stuffing sandwiches that are really high, but a good chicken sandwich or egg tuna sandwich, or then they do a lot of wraps now as well, and even tuna pots, sorry, I didn't mean to say tuna at all, chicken pots as well. They have a good bit of protein. And so if you are on the go and you're struggling with making your own food, then it's finding what you can have on the go. And a lot of people think meal deals are bad. They're not necessarily. If you're having something every single day from a meal deal, then it's like, how can we get more variety in there in terms of like more fruit, more vegetables, more grains and stuff. But if it's occasionally that you need to have a tuna and cucumber sandwich with a yogurt and banana on the go, then that's not really the worst case compared to, say, Greg's chicken bake. So it's weighing up what options we're currently doing to where we could go to help stick with those non-negotiables. So without going on a whole little tangent there, what we're trying to do is find how we can make those 3 non-negotiables non-destructible. Indestructible. Non-destructible is not a word. Indestructible. So kind of writing those 3 things down that you want to stick to for the next, say, 3 weeks, and then finding what things are really going to pick it apart and get in the way, and then how we can get over those. So it'll take time at first, but this is what this week is about, and it's finding how are we really going to set these in so that we can see a result long term. So then another question that we actually had as well was how long are we supposed to stick to the non-negotiables for? Which is a very good question. And my answer would be forever. But what we actually choose as our non-negotiables can change. So I like to compare this with the habit of brushing our teeth. And you'll hear me say this reference quite a lot. So the habit of brushing our teeth is something that we do because we know it's good for us, it's good for our long-term health, but it's not a habit that we get thorough enjoyment out of or loads of motivation, but we just kind of do it because it's a habit we know that's good for us. So that's the same kind of attitude that we're going to have with these non-negotiables. So it doesn't matter what time it is, what toothpaste we use, what routine we do with the flossing, or what mouthwash, or what toothbrush we use. There's so many different changeable things, a bit like as there is with the non-negotiables, but the fact you're doing it is the thing that counts. So whether you change after a couple of months and go, you know what, protein doesn't need to be a non-negotiable now because it's a habit, I just do it, I don't even have to think about it, but I want to focus more on my step counts, then you can swap that out and change your 3 non-negotiables. So it's kind of a constant reassessment, or say monthly reassessment of what am I doing now, what's working, what feels like a breeze, and what kind of needs a little bit more attention. So whatever needs that little bit more attention is what we can swap in and make a non-negotiable. Long term for me as well, as an example, my non-negotiables are sleep quality. So I'll make sure that I've always got that half-hour bedtime routine, because sleep's very important for me, because if I don't sleep enough, then I'm yawning all day, and also I'm hungry as hell and just end up eating so much and skip training, so that's not great. So big one for me is sleep. And then it's always protein in every meal. I always, even though I know that I'll get it in, that's still my non-negotiable. And then 3 to 4 portions of fruit or veg in each meal. That's one of my non-negotiables. So they're the 3 things that I will always focus on. Obviously, there's other things like training, step count and stuff, but they just kind of tick away and I do them anyway. So they're the ones that I always focus and put my efforts on, as an example. So non-negotiables are a forever thing, but which ones you focus on can change as well, and that comes with reassessing them. So hopefully that helps a little bit about the non-negotiables. Did you have any questions from there, Laura? Anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so then on to your question actually about the holiday, which is a really good question. I think this will become relevant as the weeks go on. People will have time away and a little break. So how can we keep focusing on our goals whilst having say you're going away in 2 weeks, or you're going away for 2 weeks?
I'm going away in 2 weeks for a week.
For a week, that. So how we approach holidays and breaks is completely different depending on what our goals are. So say that you're quite happy where you are and you're not bothered about seeing too many crazy improvements or anything there, then we kind of say just go and enjoy it, relax, have a week off. A week's not going to make that much difference to your health and fitness or nutrition. So just go away, enjoy it, and pick up your habits when you get back. But if we've got specific goals we want to work on, then it is also actually worth still using that week and trying to keep on top of everything, not everything that we can, but as much as we can, but without feeling like we're obsessing over it. So I would recommend that having a heavy focus on step count and mobility still would be really good. I'm not expecting you to go out training all the time. I know obviously you've got kids on holiday as well. It's not easy to get the training in, but step count and general movement, playing, walking around, that will be key for maintaining that movement. And that I don't want to make it about calories, but the calorie expenditure throughout the day, because the busier you are, the more calories you'll burn. So then when you do have the extra food that you have when you're on holiday, the kind of the shift doesn't occur as much because you're still moving a lot. So yeah, always get the movement in there whenever you have the breaks, get as much walking in. If you can focus on any mobility on the program, that'd be great. Get anyone on holiday with you involved as well if you wanted to. You don't have to do the full sessions that are on True Coach, but you could change a little bit like what Luke was saying the other week, change it so you do like the first 10-minute block. And then after that 10 minutes, if that's all you can do for the day, that's fine. If you want to pick up anything else as well, you can do too. And then in terms of nutrition and everything else, with your goals in mind, it could be different for anyone else. I would recommend having trying to have 2 to 3 meals a day. If you're having 3 meals, make 2 meals of them kind of nutrition orientated and still quite balanced. So I don't know what the setup is when you're away, but if it's like a buffet breakfast, that's where it's like, right, let's try and stick to a normal like fruit and yogurt or my eggs on toast and like a normal breakfast as it would be. Same with lunch. And then your evening meal, that's when you go, okay, I'm actually just going to enjoy this, just switch off from dieting and actually just enjoy the meal because you're on holiday at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be that order. So you can pick if you've got 2 to 3 meals, you want either 2 out of 3 or 1 out of 2 of them to be nutrition based, and then the other one just to be that little bit flexible with. Because as well, you want to enjoy it. So that's what I'd recommend on a nutrition front. And when I say about the balance, you want to be thinking about fruit and veg, like 3 portions of fruit or veg in each meal, high protein, and I'm going to say lower fat because that's more like croissants or anything, but it's more proper grains like your pastas and your rice or cereals and oats and things like that. So that would be good to have a heavy focus on that wherever you can, and then just enjoy one meal here and there on your holiday because it's a holiday. So whereabouts are you going, by the way?
Gran Canaria.
Nice, that'll be good. Good to get
Yeah.
some sun.
Yes.
And then another thing just to add, so we've got the step count, the mobility, keeping moving, thinking about 2 out of 3 meals, you want a good balance and then enjoy one meal and kind of a bit of freedom, but without pressing like the effort button. And then the last thing is the water. So making sure that we're hydrated throughout the day. Get a load of water in there first thing as well, especially if it's a hot country you're going to. Really good to get as much in as you can at the beginning half of the day so that you feel hydrated and you're not feeling hungry through lack of hydration as well. So that really help there. So if you wanted to, there are other things like your non-negotiables. You could like it could be sleep, it could be if you wanted to do training, you could make that a non-negotiable, or there's all those other things. But they're the things that I'd recommend for when you're on holiday because I think they're quite a good way to balance it, and it's not too much to ask either, and you still enjoy time. So, yeah, does that help? Do you have any more questions from? Yeah.
No, yeah, that does help. Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free to pick it apart and ask, and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Yeah, whilst you're away as well, just drop us a message if you want a hand with anything or if you're unsure, so we can
Yeah.
feedback. And then I've just got one more question as well. So we was asked, how can I feel more motivated? I'm struggling with getting up and doing things. Which is a great question to ask, especially very early on, because obviously we want to kind of nail this one at the start so that we can make the most of the rest of the program. So I always like to approach motivation as something that we can't rely solely on, because motivation is a feeling that can be affected by so many different things, by our sleep, by the weather, by some news that we've seen on our phones, whether it's personal or just general news, or there's so many things that affect our motivation. So to rely on motivation for our habits long term is going to be quite unreliable and not a long-term way to maintain them. So what we actually like to suggest is if you have like a diary or a calendar, or we use Google Calendars, and I really like that actually because you can change the colours of things that you put in your calendar. So you can actually see when you look at your calendar what time you're spending working, what time you're spending as downtime or quality time with friends, family, and also how you're splitting your kind of time training, doing steps, or also prepping food as well. So I really like Google Calendars because it's a repeat thing as well. So you don't have to write in your journal and diary all the time, but it's on your phone. Bit techie, but if you're into that, then it's quite good. But yeah, so bit of a tangent there. But what we recommend is staying accountable to our habits in the best way possible so that it becomes something like I said, we're brushing our teeth, just something that we do, whether we feel motivated or not. Because when we stay kind of more accountable and more disciplined to the habits that we do, no matter how we feel, then that's when we start to feel motivated. So you've probably found that in the past before you've not felt motivated, and you do a session, like a training session, or you go for a walk, or you do make that salad, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I'm actually really proud of myself. I'm glad I did that. So you get that motivation. So actually, a lot of us think we need motivation to start the habit, but actually doing the habit gives us the motivation afterwards, so that we're then motivated to do the habit again and feel that motivation afterwards. So we often think motivation comes first, but it actually comes last, which is a weird way of looking at it. But I think it's valuable to point out, because then when you're not feeling motivated, you're not like, oh God, what's wrong with me? I can't do it. Why can't I feel motivated? Instead, it's like, well, I don't need to feel motivated to do this. I need to just get up and go. And I know that sounds easier to do, just get up and go. And it is actually a lot harder than that. And I appreciate that. And I heard from a psychologist once this method called the 3-2-1 method. I'm not sure this is actually covered a little bit later in the program as well, but good to go over it now. But the 3-2-1 method is where we count ourselves in to doing something when we don't feel motivated. So you might find that in the morning your alarm goes off, you think, oh, I just want to snooze it, or maybe you're sat on the sofa and you've just had your dinner, or it's at the table, just had your dinner, and then you've got to get up and do something. But because you've lost that motivation, because you sat down and you've not got that initial habit to give you that motivation, you've got to count yourself in. So go, I'm going to get up in 3, 2, 1. And you get up, or you tell yourself, like, I'm going to go do this, to literally talk to yourself and count yourself in, and then just get up and do it. Because really weird that we feel like the voice inside our head controls us, but we also control that voice. So whatever we tell ourselves, we are literally telling ourselves. So whether that's a negative thing or a positive thing, we're telling ourselves that. So it's using this method to tell ourselves to do the thing that we're probably arguing against ourselves and saying, don't do it. So if you're saying, oh, I don't want to, don't want to, it's like 3, 2, 1, right, I'm getting up and doing it. So 3-2-1 method is something to try, and can help with not, sorry if you can enable snoring in the background. It's something to try if we're struggling with motivation. So if you are as well struggling with motivation, then drop me a message and we can talk through some personal approaches too. But that's just something to get started and see if it works. But yeah, they're all the questions from this week. Do you have any more questions or input from there, Laura?
One more question is, so
Oh,
I managed to get to the gym on a Friday, but the other workouts in the week, depending on Tom's shifts, I can't always get to the gym.
yeah.
So how can I adapt the workouts sometimes to just do them at home?
Okay. Are you finding a lot of them have the exercise on there that you can't do at home? Is that
It's not so bad at the minute, but I'm guessing they'll like the mobility one's fine at home, and like last week I was fine. But this one, like the ring rows and stuff, I'm gonna have to wait till Friday till I can get to the gym. So yeah,
yeah.
I think that.
That's something we could change actually, because we've got body weight programs, so we can change
Yeah,
that so they are based at home.
yeah,
So we'll have a look into that and have a little look. But yeah,
yeah,
good. If you are struggling to fit it in, then swap any things that are gym based out already, like in the future or whenever there is a time that you've wanted to get to the gym and then suddenly can't. Have a little look at the program and think, what can I do at home? And if there's 4 exercises that you think, well, I can do them at home, but they're all kind of split all over the place, the way I like to approach it is put it all together, set
yeah,
like 12-minute timer, and then go, right, I'm going to do 10 or 12 of each, whatever's relevant for that exercise. And just keep repeating it for 12 minutes. And then it's like you've got something in, you've got your heart rate up. You can take rest where you need, but you're just going for as many rounds as you want. And then that's like a nice little way of getting that in there still.
yeah.
Um, you can go 15 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever timer you have and what time you can commit to it. But that's a nice way that I like to kind of bring it all together and say, right, I can do this, so let's put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a look at the home program for you and see.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we'll wrap it up there for today then. Thank you for joining. And same again this weekend, we'll have a little look at the reflection form, have a look at how this week's been, if there's been any barriers, and I'll check over them on Monday and feedback to you as well. So yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.